No one is telling you this. While billions of people look toward Mars, imagining futuristic colonies, glass cities, and humans walking across a red planet, the real game is unfolding in silence. Much closer, much colder, much more strategic. The moon, not as a symbol, not as a destination, but as territory. And perhaps for the first time since the Cold War, humanity is stepping into a dispute that is no longer about discovery. It is about control, because the new space race is not a race. It is a construction, and whoever finishes first defines the future for everyone else. For decades, space was sold as a dream, a beautiful dream, heroic, romantic, rockets piercing the sky, astronauts floating in zero gravity, speeches about humanity's destiny among the stars. But dreams do not explain what is happening now, because what is being built is not a dream. It is infrastructure, and infrastructure is never neutral. It belongs to someone, it favors someone, and it controls who can or cannot participate. In the last century, the space race was simple. Two sides, two flags, two systems trying to prove superiority. It was visible, it was loud, it was ideological. Today, it is different, far more silent, far more complex, far more dangerous, because it is no longer just countries. There are companies, consortiums, treaties, private interests. And a question no one is asking out loud: who will rule beyond Earth? The popular narrative leads you to Mars, always Mars. The red planet has become the ultimate symbol of the future, the next frontier, the next home, the next chapter of humanity. But there is a problem. Mars is too far, much too far. Months of travel, no quick return. No margin for error, no efficient logistics. Mars is a dream that demands perfection. And history shows one thing with brutal clarity. Humanity never starts with the hardest challenge. It starts with what is possible. And what is possible is here, just days away from Earth. The moon, a place we have already visited, but never inhabited, never truly explored, never truly used. Because back then, there was no need. It was a symbolic race. Today, it is not. Today, every meter of the moon can mean power. A silent shift is happening, a shift in mindset. Before, the question was, can we get there? Now, the question has changed. Can we stay there? And that simple change transforms the entire game. Because arriving is an event, staying is dominance. The moon is no longer a destination. It has become a platform, a staging ground, a logistical node, a place where you can produce, store, refuel, build, test, and above all, reduce dependence on Earth. And here is the detail that changes everything. The most valuable resource on the moon is not something rare, not gold, not an exotic mineral. It is something far simpler: water. Hidden in permanently shadowed regions, inside craters where sunlight never reaches, there is ice. And ice in space is power, because water is not just water. It can be split into hydrogen and oxygen, and that means fuel, breathable air, life. If you can extract water on the moon, you do not need to bring everything from Earth. You do not need to carry tons of fuel. You do not need constant resupply missions. You can create a cycle, self-sustaining. And when that happens, you stop being a visitor and become a permanent presence. That is why no one is rushing directly to Mars, because Mars demands something we have not yet mastered: total autonomy. But the Moon is the testing ground, the laboratory, the first real step. And while the public looks toward the red horizon, governments and corporations are looking into dark craters, ice maps, landing zones, transport routes. Because the new space race is not about planting flags. It is about building systems. And those systems are already being designed, silently, piece by piece. Rockets are no longer the objective. They are only the beginning. The real focus lies in everything that comes after: habitation modules, energy systems, communication networks, extraction machines, autonomous robots, orbital stations, fuel depots. It is a chain, a complete chain, like any economy on Earth, but now beyond it. And when you build a chain, you create dependence. Imagine this: a lunar base capable of producing fuel, ships passing through to refuel, missions that depend on that infrastructure, companies that rely on that network, countries that have no access to it. Suddenly, whoever controls the base controls the flow. This is not fiction. This is geopolitics. And for the first time in history, geopolitics is no longer confined to Earth. Two movements are unfolding at the same time. Two models, two ways of dominating space. On one side, an open approach, partnerships, international agreements, collaboration, but with rules. Rules that define how resources can be used, how operations function, how zones around installations must be respected. On the other side, a parallel model, also collaborative, but with a different vision, different alliances, different priorities. This creates something new, not a race, but a division, blocks. And when blocks form, the dispute stops being technical and becomes strategic. Because now it is not just about reaching the moon, but who you go with, under which rules, with which rights. And this is the most invisible part of all, the legal battle. Space cannot be owned, that is established. But there is a loophole, an interpretation, a gray zone. You cannot declare the moon as territory, but you can operate on it. You can extract resources, you can establish safety zones, you can build infrastructure. And if you do all of that, in practice, you control that space, without calling it control. And that is how major shifts happen, not through obvious declarations, but through technical definitions. While the public watches launches, the future is being written in documents, agreements, clauses, terms that seem irrelevant, but in the long run, define who can do what. And when those rules are set, it will be too late to question them. Because infrastructure will already be there, functioning. And infrastructure creates reality. That is why lunar bases matter so much. Not as cities, not as tourism, but as control points. A base means constant energy, communication, protection, maintenance, continuous presence. And continuous presence changes everything. In human history, those who remained dominated. Ports, islands, trade routes. Now this is being replicated just beyond Earth. And perhaps the most unsettling part is, this has already begun. It is not distant future, not theory, not prediction. It is the present. Tests are being carried out, technologies are being validated, partnerships are being formed, and every small advancement builds something larger. Because no one will announce We are now dominating the moon. And that is not how it happens. It happens gradually, with one mission, then another. One module, then another. One system that works, then another. Until one day, everything is already there. And then the narrative shifts from exploration to presence, from presence to dependence, and from dependence to power. And Mars is still there, as a promise, as a final destination. But now in a different light, because anyone who wants to go to Mars will have to pass through the moon, will have to refuel, test, train, will depend on infrastructure that someone else built first. And that means Mars will not be the beginning of a new era. It will be the consequence of whoever won the previous stage. And that is why Mars is sold, and the moon is built. Something almost invisible is happening. A reversal of narrative. The public consumes the spectacle, but power organizes behind the scenes. And perhaps this is the most important part of all. The new space race does not look like a race, because it has no clear finish line. It has layers, logistics, energy, resources, law, technology. And whoever masters these layers does not just arrive first. They define the game. They define who gets to participate. They define who depends on whom. And when that happens, there will be no dramatic moment, no global announcement, only a slow realization that space is no longer an open frontier, but a system, and systems always have owners. Perhaps in the future this will be told as a great achievement, a triumph of humanity, and it will be. But like every great transformation, it will not be equally distributed. Some will have access, others will not. And that divide will not be based only on technology, but on positioning. Who entered first? Who built first? Who understood first? Because in the end, history does not reward those who dream the highest. It rewards those who build first. And while billions look toward Mars, the moon is being occupied. Silently, without spectacle, without warning, without most people even noticing. And perhaps when we finally do, it will no longer be a race. It will be a defined map, and we will simply be living inside it. If you want to understand the stories unfolding before they become obvious, if you want to see what is being built while everyone else is distracted, if you want to uncover forgotten secrets and the ones still being written, subscribe to The Hidden, because the future never begins when everyone is watching. It begins when almost no one is looking.